Welcome back to another episode of Recruiting Centrals here at Prep Baseball. I am your host, Shooter Hunt, on with a very special guest from Southern Miss. We have Lad Rhodes. And Lad, I have to start off before I say hi to you. I have a lot of experience with Southern Miss, having gone to Tulane, played against Tulane, and played it against Southern Miss. Pete Taylor Park is one of the single best venues in baseball. And I hope everybody in the country can hear about this on here. Let me shout from the top of everywhere. That is a great place to play baseball. I love everything about Southern Miss. But Lad, welcome to the show.
Oh, awesome, man. Thank you. I'm happy to be on, excited. And no, it is, man. It's a really special place. And I look forward to getting to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and let's just dive right into talking about the energy around the program. If I'm looking right, save for COVID, 9 straight NCAA tournament appearances. The fan base is incredible. Everything about the atmosphere. You guys have hosted. You have awesome teams. Obviously, that 09 team. I played with Brian Dozier with the Twins. So, that 09 team I was following closely that went to the College World Series. Talk about the program in general, and just how the success has been able to be sustained. What is it about Southern Miss that is so special?
Yeah, I think it's a few different things. I think, one, this program means a whole lot to the town and city of Hattiesburg. And I think, you talk about the atmosphere, you talk about the fan base and getting 5,500 fans per game in a midweek. Man, it shows. It's the biggest show in town on a Friday night. But the consistency of success, I think a lot as you look at, the head coaches that have been here, there hasn't been much change. It's kind of been the same faces throughout, starting with Hill Denson to Corky Palmer to Coach Barry and now to Coach Oz, who are all, each one was assistant on that staff. And so, they know the culture and the standard here, what this place means and what it means to the city of Hattiesburg. So I think that's been the biggest part of it.
Now, you're from the state of Mississippi, from the Biloxi area, but just Mississippi in general is just so baseball heavy. It is just sports crazy. There's so much that goes on. And I think that helps drive you guys. You have a fair amount of kids from Mississippi, although we'll get into some recruiting stuff outside, not just the Gulf region. How do you bring things together as a program to say, yes, we're going to get Mississippi guys, but we're also going to expand past it? Is it something that you concentrate? We want to be local, but also have a presence in the Gulf?
Yeah, I think it's definitely both. I think you start in state. The kids growing up from Mississippi, I was one of them, man. I grew up, an hour and 15 minutes away, and I would have loved to have had the opportunity to play here one day. You grow up and you know about Southern Miss and Ole Miss and Mississippi State baseball and their programs, and it means a lot to a kid coming from Mississippi. But you definitely want to try and get the best players in Mississippi because they know Southern Miss, they know what it stands for and what it represents. But then you also want to, try and stay in your region, and something we've had success in and getting into Alabama and Louisiana, and Tennessee in different parts. But no, just trying to get, the right fit and the right player for our program.
And you talk about Mississippi State, Ole Miss, right? You have the SEC big dogs there. Those guys do not want to play you, though. And every year when I tune in for the selection show and we're following there's going to be a Hattiesburg regional, nobody wants to go there because you do not want to head in there. And I'm sure there's a lot of Southern Miss fans talking. Those people get after you, and they are on top of it. That stadium. Yeah. I'm going to talk a lot about the park because I'm still obviously getting over the fact of your fans just absolutely abusing me as a Tulane guy. But is that something you take pride in, where hey, we have some blue collar to what we do, hopping on this field? And yes, those guys are in the big SEC, but we've been to the College World Series. We know how to play, and we can beat them.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I think, we have a chip on our shoulder, and, coming into this park and this atmosphere and having the opportunity to host a regional, it's not fun to be an opposing pitcher warming up in that bullpen. We have the roost down there, and I think they started to call it on the side the 16-ounce lounge or something like that. But they're here early, man, and it's a lot of energy from the get-go, and as guys are warming up. So, no, it's a very tough environment, and obviously, we're extremely thankful and shooting for each opportunity to be able to host because we know it's a tough place to play.
Now, I was going through, I did a ton of research going back because I have so much respect for the Southern Miss program, but looking at you and each of your coaching stops. Now, you are obviously at Southern Miss now, but you're at Nichols before that, Nichols State in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Charleston Southern, you were at Southern Miss as a volley before that. but you're also at Jones College, which is a junior college program, and Mississippi's junior colleges are outstanding. It is something where, if you're not familiar, anybody listening from outside the region, like those are like Division I programs essentially within the state. Now, you played at Jones, you also coached there. Talk about your path as a coach and things that you learned, even to the sense of being at Southeastern with Coach Ortiz, Coach Reiser, all great coaches that you've been through. What are some things you've taken away or taken along the way that you've added to your repertoire as a coach?
Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate, I think, to be around some really good coaches, some really good people. Obviously, starting at Southeastern and starting back at Jones as a player, playing for Coach Oz, and he actually coached me in high school. And so when he went to Jones, so the opportunity to go play for him again was a no-brainer for me. And so kind of knowing around my junior, senior year, I want to coach, and it's what I want to do. And so learning a whole different side, playing for Coach Ortiz, and the mental side of what he preached, and the offensive type game we played and running the bases. I learned so much from there. And then getting the opportunity for Coach Oz, to give me a shot to be a GA for him in 2014. And just that was my first time learning that, getting to be on the field's just a small part of it. I think, you want to be a coach, you see the one-on-one stuff in the cages and being out on the field, but there's so much more to it than that. And I think that's the side of, from a recruiting standpoint, and then knowing the day-to-day, how much that opened my eyes just as a GA. And I got out of coaching. After that year, I sold insurance for 2 years, and that was 2015 and 16. And, that even having to communicate, not, when people are calling you and you're selling insurance, it's never usually something good. They're not calling to tell you thank you. And so, there's some hard conversations there. And then, going on and getting back to Jones, when Travis Creel left and he went to Louisiana Tech, I was able to hop back on at Jones in a full-time position. And so then it was hitting the road, man, and it was recruiting and trying to develop guys and all that. And so that was a really good experience for me from a responsibility standpoint, getting back to it at Jones. And because Mississippi is extremely competitive, you have 15 junior colleges all going after the same player. And so what do you maybe have that's different that can benefit them to help them grow and develop and reach the goals and dreams that they want? And that's hard. It is. It's recruiting against the rest of the schools and getting after it. It's a really competitive league. And then Coach Barry giving me the opportunity to be a volunteer here. He gave me the shot to get into Division I baseball, which at the time was different than it is now. It was a little harder when you only had 3 assistants then.
Yeah.
And so getting that opportunity to get in was extremely, significant for me. And then going out to Charleston Southern, at the time that was after COVID. And so as a volunteer, we weren't making any money. We couldn't have camps. We couldn't be around people. So you weren't hosting events and different things like that. And so you get the opportunity to get a paid position. You were chomping at the bit at whatever. And so, Coach McMillan giving me that opportunity, I'm extremely thankful. Left at Christmas and knew a guy there, Anthony Izio, who's over at Tulane now. He was the pitching coach there. He called me, it was Christmas break, and kind of let me know what was going on. And so the coolest part, and something I'm extremely grateful for and also learned, Coach McMillan, when I left and I went there, I got there around January 20th. They'd already started group work. And he gave me full reins of the offense, and I didn't know to expect that, and I think that's something I'm extremely grateful for, and something that I hope to use one day, hopefully as a head coach, is trusting the people you hire and your assistants. I think that was a big learning moment for me. He gave me full, go get it, man. It's yours. I'm not going to mess with the hitters, and so it's kind of taken back a little bit, but it was also exciting at the same time. And then going to Nicholls State, I was at Charleston Southern for a short stint, and then going to Nicholls State with Mike Silva. That was probably my biggest learning experience. Mike's one of the best. I'm extremely thankful for him and the things he taught me there at Nicholls. But, where Nicholls was at as a program, you weren't going to get the best players from Louisiana at the time. And so you had to expand your network. We wanted the same caliber players as we're trying to recruit here at Southern Miss. But you had to go find them. And so having to go out to California and Minnesota and different places throughout the country and expanding your network, you're having to do it a little different way. And that was a big learning experience for me as well.
It sounds like, each of these stops, you get something new that you bring to the table. You're able to collect a little bit of knowledge. But like now, how do you bring that to Southern Miss? Whereas you're talking about, you're not just rolling out like, hey, we're getting these 5-star recruits. And I think it's something
Right.
you guys probably take pride in, because what I can say as a, as a bystander of, you guys do produce really good players and you develop them within the program, which I think is massively important. Like you give those a chance to kind of grow, have some bumps in the road. Is that something that you now at Southern Miss like really pride yourself in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the guys you've seen come in this program, and then they get the opportunity to get drafted and sign and go play at the next level, are guys that, at times not a lot of people have heard of coming out of high school. They weren't famous, and that's nowadays extremely tough with the job that you guys do, and so many people of exposing players and giving them the opportunity. And so it is, Coach Oz from a pitching side, in recruiting, we lean on him heavily because, Coach Oz is not afraid to take, watching a guy throw and he's 85, 87. And he goes, get him in our program and our strength program. And one day, he'll sit there and go, that guy's going to be 90, 93. And you're kind of like, really, Coach? You really think? He's like, yeah. And just his eyes, and he trusts his eyes, and lean on him big time for that. But I think definitely, man, I think trying to find those guys, the blue collar type guys that maybe don't have all the offers in the world, and that are local guys, and that, would do anything to play at Southern Miss. I think get them in our program, letting them grow, letting them develop, because, the high school players, that's our model. And I know we'll talk about that a little more, but that's what we believe in, is the growth development of those guys.
Well, let's talk about those high school guys, because when I look at your stuff, it's not usually mega class, not huge, right? You're not bringing in 30 guys. It seems like more of a subtle 5 or 6. And I know for us internally, we see a kid commit to Southern Miss, I'm going back through my notes like, this kid must be pretty good. Or if it's a pitcher, hey, this guy's got a chance to jump. There's something in there that they've seen, and I know that they produce and develop. That's something to look at. How do you guys look at your high school specific? We have a lot of parents listening in, players looking in. How do you guys recruit a high school player?
Yeah, that's our model now. And obviously, the portal has changed some things from a recruiting standpoint, but, we live and die with our high school guys. And so we kind of first base it off of, what are we graduating first? How many guys are we graduating? That's how many we probably need to sign from a high school standpoint, maybe 1 or 2 more on top of that. But do we use the portal? Yes, we do. We brought in 4 guys this past summer out the portal. We kind of use that based off the draft. Our center fielder, Jake Cook, was his 81st pick of the draft. The year before, he threw 2 innings and didn't have 1 at bat. So we weren't really expecting him to get drafted. And so that's kind of how we use it. But no, I think, from a high school standpoint, being able to go out and know what we need, obviously, if you talk philosophy or what is it, changes year to year. It changes what you need with that roster as it presents itself and what we're really looking for. But I think it's finding a guy who you try and project. The longer you do this, and I've been coaching for 9 or 10 years, but you try and, make comparisons. Who does he compare to on your roster? Someone you've coached, what could he possibly be down the road? And do you miss? Yeah, absolutely. But, you're trying to find those guys that can grow and develop into something bigger later on in their career.
What are some of the things, so even more specific, like what are things you guys are looking for? And you don't have to give away the secret sauce, like these are kind of the metrics we're at, but you walk up to a game in Jackson, Mississippi, or you're heading to somewhere in Louisiana to Hammond. What are some things that initially catch your eye? How can a player stand out to Coach Rhodes here?
Yeah, I think, one, you're always looking at the body. You're always looking at physicality, broad shoulders. What do they look like? How do they move around? Obviously, when you're going, we're going recruiting, but I would say about 90-95% of the time, there's names already that, that are there that we're going to see. But no, first you're going to look at what position are they playing? You're locking in on the premier positions, the shortstop, center fielder, catcher. You're locking in on those guys first. But, one, from an at-bat standpoint, you're looking at their bat to ball, their bat speed, and then, how are their at-bats? Are they always chasing, and the stuff they're facing? Are they facing premier stuff that would cause them to chase, or are they not? Is that just, do they have a lot of swing and miss? And again, is their bat to ball really good? And then how do they move? Are they fast? And but are they base running fast? Can they run the bases at a high level? Or are they just a straight, they run a really good 60 and that's it? But their feel for the game, I think, is extremely important. And then On the mound, obviously you want to see guys who throw strikes and that can really spin the baseball. Can you command 2 pitches? Can you command multiple pitches? And then do you have the opportunity to project and even gain more velo as you get older? So I think those are the big things. And then the motor, obviously you try and, predict the motor and watching them play and then doing as much background on them on what type of kid they are. But, how hard do they play the game? And they do that just when you're there or all the time. And so that's a big key for us.
I love when you talk about spin. So you're tickling my fancy here from pitchers. And every time I feel like you guys will commit like almost an undersized righty who can really spin it. And I laugh and I'm like, Ole Miss and Mississippi State are not going to commit this kid. And he's going to roll in and just shove it up there. You know what? Throughout. But you bring up a good point here. You say you go out to games 90 to 95% of the time. You have a good idea of who you're going to watch. And I always talk about this with other coaches where you guys do so much homework in advance where, hey, we have some names. Now, how do I find you? You do something good, right? If I walk into a game where I don't know anybody, you're probably going to have to stand out in some way initially.
Right.
Talk to me about how you gather those names, because I think there are a lot of things that we do. And without being a salesman, our preseason events, I always find to be huge because you're coming out of the winter, you're going to your spring season. You want to get on a radar very early. You want as many looks as you can. So to get that look in the preseason, then to know that Coach Rhodes can come out and see me throughout the spring, and then he's going to hit the ground running in June and get to see some of my stuff. I think that's important. Is that how you guys are collecting names as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the relationships with high school coaches and the travel ball organizations and their coaches, communicating with them on who do they like, who do they see, being a fit for us. I think especially in our area, a lot of these coaches know what we're looking for. And so it's very easy for them to say, these are the guys you need to come see. I think they'd be a great fit. And then obviously, what you guys do and the events that y'all host and be able to post names and videos out that we start collecting and, we keep track of all that and we're writing that down and going, man, the first opportunity we can go see him in the spring or the summer. So it's all of us, everyone on our staff, basically collecting names and having a plan once this spring and summer hits that these are the names we need to see first. So it's what you guys do in the communication with those coaches.
Love it. It's almost like getting lottery tickets. You want more lottery tickets, just so you can be seen a little bit more. But talk about even more so. You guys have done such a great job, obviously, in the Gulf region, right? You go Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. You've gotten into Texas a little bit, Florida, Georgia. What about the Midwest? Because you guys have gone into the upper Midwest. You've obviously had huge success in Minnesota, which is something that got me on the radar. You got Ohio on your roster now. How do you get into the Midwest? And then if you can somehow tie it in, I always look at the future games. Who are these guys going out of region at the future games to see guys? Because I love that.
Yeah. I think being able to, like I said, we want really good players and we want it to be the right fit. And so having those connections, I think that's the biggest thing it's very rare you're just going to go watch a team from Ohio play and then try and pull that player. There's got to be a reason. And you got to know someone who says, hey, man, this is a kid who would like to get down south. This is a kid that wants to get out the cold or whatever the case may be. And then at futures and different events, you're going to watch those guys and keeping track of them throughout the fall and the spring. But, I mean, that's it for us. There's nothing crazy. It's more just the communication with the relationships we've made and guys that, they think they would be a fit for us here and want to get down south. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, is that helpful for you, for a kid from the upper Midwest, wherever it may be, Michigan, Canada, anywhere, to get out there hey, I'd like to go south. I know I grew up in New Jersey. I wanted to go south. That was the big thing, getting to good weather. Is that helpful for you as a recruiter? Hey, I might want to go away from home in the Pacific Northwest or the Midwest or Northeast. Is that helpful for you?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I think knowing that they're not afraid to get away from home, I think shows, a maturity level from that kid. I think knowing that I'm not afraid to get away from family. The importance here is growing, developing as a player, and I'm not scared of leaving home. I think that's huge.
And then how should those kids get on your radar? Is it an email? Should they be DMing you, tweets? What's the best way that Lance Rhodes, I am on his radar, here's my schedule, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think that's the way to do it is being in communication as much as you can. And obviously we have different events we host here, and you'd be surprised how many kids from different areas will show up and that you didn't even know about. They
Mm-hmm.
just saw it on social media and signed up for it. And you have a kid walking in from Illinois and you're like, we have one we signed from a showcase. I had no idea he was coming. And he ran a 6'6" and he was up to 90. He was left-handed on the mound. You're going, holy cow. And just had a connection down here and was going on vacation. So we're going to stop and swing by. And that's how it worked. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think, being and reaching out to us and being able to attend some of these events when you can is big time.
It's so amazing. I tell kids all over the country, like random Illinois kid coming down to Southern Miss for this, even if he's not any good, you as a coach just see Illinois kid. That's like you almost
Right.
using a name. This is the Illinois kid. We have to watch him.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to find out what brought him here, right? Like, what's the connection, or you just see it, or is there a different connection down here that's extremely important? So yeah, it's cool.
What about for local guys? Like, I'm more intrigued by, like, let's say a 2028. You guys can't have contact with them right now. How should that player be letting you know I have interest in Southern Miss? Because you can go out and look at them this spring. Like, there'll be a chance to do that. Would you want to get an email from them, the DM? I know you can't respond, so just kind of put that out there.
Yeah, probably just the DM or email, on Twitter or X, whatever. But yeah, I think reaching out, just keeping us updated, I think is the biggest thing. And obviously the guys in our region, we're going to go see this spring and definitely see a bunch this summer. But I think trying to stay in contact with us as much as they possibly can is the biggest thing, just to keep us updated and help us follow along with them and what they're doing.
And even if you can't respond, I like to say, like, don't full court press it. We don't need to, like, every single swing you're sending a DM, but like the weekly update, even if you're not responding and not able to respond as a player, just assuming that, yes, Coach Rhodes has seen this. Coach Rhodes has seen this. Send it the next week and kind of build that track record, even though the NCAA is not allowing you to speak to these guys right now.
Right.
That's kind of how I look at it from a player standpoint. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think, and it also shows the interest you have in our program as well, and that this is somewhere you're really interested in. Obviously, that we want guys who want to be here as well, and so that's extremely important for us.
Yeah, you can't waste time. You only have so many days on the board. Let me go back a little bit more, because you had all these great coaching stops, and you talk about Coach McMillan allowing you to work with the offense. What are some of your offensive thoughts? Like, what are things that you in the program right now, you guys kind of stress on? Is it, hey, we're dipping our shoulders, we're trying to get this thing flying out of the park, because every now and then the wind blows out here, which it definitely was in 2007 when I was pitching there. But what are some of your offensive philosophies?
Yeah, I think, trying to make things as simple as possible. It's a really hard game. It's a really hard thing to do, to square up a baseball consistently. And which Travis does a great job with these guys. And I try and help him as much as we can. But I think our philosophies kind of match one another. Is we're going to be extremely aggressive. This is a great place to hit, especially when it starts to get hot. And so, let's maximize our extra base hits while limiting our strikeouts. And let's make things hard when we're working. I think that's the biggest thing, what we do, in the cages and on the field. It's never just fluff. That's very rare. Let's make it as difficult as possible. So when you get in a game setting, you've already experienced failure. You've already seen some of this stuff in our cage work and out on the field, and you should have a comfort in that and allow yourself to be aggressive. And so I think that's the biggest thing. There's so much technology and so much information now and video and the technology we have, and you can probably watch video for hours on your swing and do different things, but let's try and make it simple. Let's not overcrowd ourselves and make it complicated, because it's already a hard thing to do. But I think that's the biggest thing, is taking all these things and make it as simple as possible.
Are you like ramping up like velo action in the cage, or is there competition, or is it like daily stuff like that? I'm always intrigued. Like, I'm a pitcher. Like, what's the hitting action? What are you guys doing that's going to make me worse as a pitcher?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think we're trying to see every look as possible, especially off the machines, the eye pitch and different things, to where you're seeing, 90, 95 with real spin, and you're trying to get to the top of it, or you're seeing a nasty slider, and then you can mix it in. And so I think it's trying to see as many looks as possible, and changing up the angles from the machine to help control your body and do different things. And so I think that's where, and then, we want to compete. We want there to be some talking going on in there, and having our guys competing with one another and setting them up into groups and putting something on the line for it. And so that makes it fun for them, right? That's going to make them intrigued and bring more energy and more focus in what they're doing.
I could see that smile on you, like the guys talking a little bit, and you guys really get after it because it is an intimidating place to walk into P. Taylor Park. And I can't stress, I stress it at the top of the show, but like fans are on top of you. There's a ton of energy. You guys play in huge ballparks. I mean, the Sun Belt in general, like you go into some tough environments and the fans are like right on the field. There's tons of great college towns that you get to go around and be in. Can you talk about just the atmosphere of what you guys step into, especially you, big dog on campus, right? USM, you're rolling around. You have 9 straight NCAA tournaments. What is it like when you guys go on the road? How much fun is it to be in those environments?
Yeah, I think, that's something we also stress from a recruiting standpoint is, you're going to play at our place and it's one of the best atmospheres in the country. But in our league, there's quite a few that it's going to be a very similar atmosphere when you're going out to Lafayette or when you're going to Coastal, Troy, and some of these places. They're really nice and cool places, but they're also tough places to play in. So I think that's exciting. That's what you want. That's what you sign up for is to play in difficult environments and have that pressure. And that's what's fun about it. And so I think that's a positive of our league, and you're seeing throughout the league, new stadiums being built left and right, and having even more atmospheres or higher fan bases at some of these places. So I think that's a positive, man. I think that's a recruiting sell. That it's not just our place. There's several places in our league that's they're tough places to play.
The Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, is not a mid-major. It is a power major, and Southern Miss is just completely an absolute power major. Like, I'm getting you guys, like, allow me to champion the Southern Miss talk and the entire Sun Belt. Lad, I just want to thank you for coming on. It was awesome to hear some stuff about Southern Miss. I know I talked a lot about it, but those are just such great teams that you guys had that I played against. I love Hattiesburg and the state of Mississippi in general. But thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
For sure. I'm looking forward to what Southern Miss has in store for 2026. Some big things, I'm sure, and that 10th year have returned into the NCAA tournament. But this has been another episode of Recruiting Essentials here at Southern Miss. And until next time, we will see each and every one of you at the ballpark.